All right, what's going on, everybody? The Iceman here, the man with the plan, the man with the knowledge, the man with the wrestling news, the frozen one, the Iceman here on the Iceman V2013 YouTube channel, the AKA Jeffrey Rose YouTube channel. And in this video today, uh, I want to bring out once again that uh, opinions on this video are my opinions only, and they don't reflect on anybody else's opinions uh, that I may mention within this video. So I'm going to talk about Sting, and you know, as we all know, Triple H and Sting are gonna be at Mania. They're gonna have a match, and they have built up this match, pretty good. Ever since Survivor Series last year, when Sting, helped Team Cena end up defeating the Authority to get rid of the Authority for the holiday months, which pretty much that's all it was all about. Uh, but anyway, I remember Sting when he first came up, NWA, WCW years. I called him the Surfer Sting because he was this young, muscular, bleached blonde, spiked haired guy with the face paint. He used to scream to the fans, and he was this guy that had so much energy. And this was the guy once he came up. This was the guy that they were going to pit up against Ric Flair because, Flair had a lot of competitors go against his NWA title back in those days. And this was the guy that they decided to groom, to end up going up against Ric Flair. And it worked out pretty well. This superstar, this particular gimmick of Sting was an excellent Sting. In my eyes, I liked this Sting the best. But in reality, this Sting wasn't really around for a heck of a long time. Possibly, I'm not even sure the number of years. Uh, but then he ended up, after he had the WCW title belt, obviously he had a lot of matches with Ric Flair, confrontations with Lex Luger. There was a point where he joined the Four Horsemen and they booted him out. A lot of animosity there, and but this was a fun Sting to watch. This was the Sting that had all this energy built up, and I know the kids loved him, the females loved him, and a lot of the males liked him as well. He was the guy. I mean, he was right then and there. He was the guy to challenge Ric Flair uh, for the world title, and also challenge the Four Horsemen as well. Uh, After Sting lost his title in the early to mid '90s, he disappeared, and we didn't see Sting much. And really, from then on there, how often did really Sting ever, you know, uh, be involved in wrestling for a full year, a full 12 months of the year? He really didn't. And then when the NWO gimmick was started by Eric Bischoff with Hall and Nash, and then they brought in Hogan, who turned heel as Hollywood Hogan, they felt that they needed somebody that would really quiet down the NWO. And they had all their challenges with the WCW guys, and the NWO just always came out on top. So they came up with the idea of a crow gimmick with Sting. This was a Sting that used to come down the rafters on a cable. This was a Sting we've seen uh, come down off a rope on a helicopter. This was the Sting that was a man of very, very few words. He never really spoke. He had the baseball bat in hand. That was his voice uh, so much. And Sting really did scare the NWO, and this ran for quite some time. But again, Sting was never around a full 12 months of the year. And finally, in 2001, you know, after the purchase of WCW, by the WWE. They had their final Nitro, which was also simulcast on Monday Night Raw. Sting and Ric Flair had their final match. Um, and once WCW was done, once the WWE decided to close them out, which I think was a bad mistake because I think with Shane McMahon um, having WCW as well as a sister supposedly owning ECW, Vince could have had all three promotions do like numerous amounts of business. But he decided to, close them all down and, pretty much bring the roster together. And but Sting was one guy that didn't go, and he was still under contract by Time Warner. Um, WWF or WWE at the time um, couldn't touch that contract. Sting didn't have to do anything for a number of years, and he still was getting paid quite a bit of money because he was still under contract with Time Warner. Um, so we didn't hear anything about Sting, and I know there was a lot of commotion, and Vince McMahon, he got everybody from WCW that he wanted, but the only guy that he couldn't get was Sting. And he pursued Sting on a number of occasions, and Sting just, flat out said, I will never work for the WWE. Well, he reneged on that statement because he's now working for the WWE. But before coming to the WWE, a few years after uh, WCW went down, Sting decided to join forces with the TNA Impact Wrestling promotion, and this was another image of Sting. He still had the Crow gimmick and the face paint as the Crow, but this Sting spoke, and this Sting spoke many words. And did he help out TNA? I think yes, most enormously he did, because I think by him being the one guy that Vince McMahon couldn't get into the WWE, he was the last man standing in WCW, and this is probably one of the reasons why he was labeled the icon. Um, but he did a lot of great stuff for TNA wrestling, um, and he wasn't working full time for them either. I mean, he'd be there like 6 months out of the year, and it seemed like for like 3 or 4 years in a row, it seemed like every time he came back, towards the major per views like Bound for Glory and whatnot, he always ended up getting the TNA World Heavyweight title. But uh, it wasn't a bad thing for TNA. It was a good thing because this was one guy that TNA got that the WWE could not get. And now, since he left TNA Wrestling and he did sign a contract with the WWE, now again he's back, still with the Crow gimmick, but again, a man of very few words, and right now, none at all. And so, I find it really, really interesting that the WWE really is marketing this match the way they are. And I'll be honest with you, I don't blame them. I think it's a big money match. Um, right now, we've seen Sting really get over Triple H twice thus far. And if there is another meeting prior to WrestleMania and Sting gets over on Triple H again, you know, a lot of people think that Sting going into WrestleMania will not agree to lose. But I find that if Sting keeps on getting over on Triple H, that I think Triple H may get the best of Sting, and they may have another rematch, which I would see down the road at SummerSlam. But um, yeah, Sting is one of those guys that could have been uh, even bigger and even better in the world of professional wrestling. Would he have excelled as the Surfer Sting if he stayed that way? I think so. Um, I think he had a lot of promise. Um, and like I said, he was a big fan favorite back then. And then the major change of going to the Crow Sting. he still had many, many fans just for the fact that he was Sting. Uh, but with him now in the WWE, I haven't lost any respect for Sting, but I'll always remember the statement saying that he would never ever work for WWE and Vince McMahon, and now we find that he is. So it sort of taints it a little bit for me. Um, is he an icon in the world of professional wrestling? I don't know if I'd go that far, but maybe for WCW he was. But again, then this overshadows the likes of Ric Flair and whatnot. And to be quite honest with you, once Bischoff started NWO, Ric Flair's career in WCW was pretty much done. I think that's why he ended up, well, he did jump ship before NWO was formed, but he came back, and when he came back, he was really a nobody in WCW, and Sting still was. So, I mean, to put it quite bluntly, Sting has done great things for NWA, WCW. He did great things for TNA, Impact Wrestling. And right now, I think he is sort of like doing great things for the WWE because the WWE knows there's a hole in the bottom of the hull of their ship and they're slowly sinking. So they needed to come up with something. And I'm sure they paid Sting a huge, huge contract to come to the WWE, much like they did with Brock Lesnar. I think the Lesnar, situation has failed, but I don't think that the WWE will drop the ball on this Sting situation. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens here at WrestleMania 31. But give me your thoughts and give me your opinions. Which Sting did you like better? Did you like the Surfer Sting in the early days of NWA, WCW? Did you like the Crow Sting that never spoke later on in the years of WCW? Or did you like the Crow Sting that was, never was lost for words in TNA Impact Wrestling? I mean, he had some pretty unique situations throughout his career. And he will go down in history as one of the greatest wrestlers in the world of professional wrestling. Although, if you look at the amount of times he's wrestled throughout a year, there was a lot of years from the early 90s on up that Sting didn't wrestle too many months out of a year. So, anyway, these are my thoughts on this Wednesday. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy your day. NXT tonight, Sasha Banks defends her titles against Charlotte tonight. Let's hope and pray my girl Sasha retains. And there should be a couple other good matches on there as well. So we'll see y'all next time. This is the one and only, the man with the plan, the Iceman.